All right. In this video, I want to talk about vicariously living through others. Now, we've all done this at some point, and this isn't necessarily something that is wrong and evil, such as Jesus, for example. If you read through the Gospels and you start seeing how Jesus is a great guy, right? And as it comes to the end of his story, where they judge him falsely and tear him down, you start vicariously living through him where you feel defeated, right? But then when you read about how he got the victory over death because he was truly righteous, sinless, pure, and innocent, that you joy in the victory that he got, even though you didn't get it. It's as if you are living through him vicariously. And that's what vicariously is all about. It's about living through someone else, or having someone else live through you, such as with the Pope. They would say they are the vicar of Christ, which ties to this vicariously, where they're saying basically that Jesus is vicariously living through them, which is not true. All right? But they want to put it in a way where that means they are justified being the ruler of the world and over Christendom, right? But the Bible tells us that Christ, Jesus, is the head of every man, not the head of the church and the head of a certain man who is then the head of everybody else. Nothing about Jesus vicariously living through one particular individual, but in every believer, right? But again, vicariously doesn't necessarily mean evil or immoral, because there could be times where you are watching a sporting event, whether it's a team sport, individual sport, and you might be very vicariously living through your favorite team, right? The city you grew up in, or what have you, right? Your favorite boxer, fighter, or wrestler, right? That is not necessarily wrong, right? It can be wrong where the only way you can feel good is if the one you're vicariously living through wins, and you feel bad if they lose, and it just like ruins your day. Well, then it's becoming a problem, right? You got an idol there, right? But there's nothing wrong with some team play in sports and individual play and supporting, right? Supporting your favorite athlete or athletes and what have you. You know, just with moderation and with self-control, right? Where you understand that they are not you, you are not them, and whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter, right? As long as you can understand that, you're good. But a lot of people have taken this very far, not just with sports, but with politics, where what inspired this video was actually talking to my brother on my aunt's post on Facebook, where she posted about how America is a republic, not a democracy, right? And I've said that phrase as well. And my brother wanted to put in being like, well, actually, a republic is a type of democracy. And I was like, yeah. But you're missing the point people are making, right? It's not just a pure, straight-up democracy. Because a republic actually protects the individual. A democracy does not. Democracy is a mob rule, majority rule, where you get to dictate to the individual based on your numbers. It doesn't matter about being right or wrong. It's just if there's more of you than voting for a certain thing than other people, well, then you win and everybody else has to submit to it. That's not a republic. So I was talking to him about that, about, well, a democracy doesn't protect the individual. Even though a republic is a type of democracy where you may vote for certain representatives, you can't vote to remove inalienable rights, for example, or to change inalienable rights, because that would remove the definition of them being inalienable, as in they're God-given and they can't be taken, they can't even be given up. That's what inalienable is. But they seem to think that you could vote to remove people's rights and impose your will on them, because these people have these egos that need to be fed, where I was noticing that my brother would be willing to basically die on this meaningless hill, because I was eventually telling him, hey, no one cares about the point you're making. You're just showing how there's no real joy in your life, that you need to sit here and argue as hard as you are about how a republic is a type of democracy, when I didn't say you are wrong. I never claimed that a republic is not a democracy. I'm saying that simply a republic actually protects the individual while a pure democracy does not. Yet he just wanted to act as though I was saying that he is wrong, and he was just really gung-ho, leaving long comments that were pointless. And it was like, even if you're right, what does that matter? Like, why are you putting this much effort and time into this? Right? From anybody watching, can just see that you lack joy, that you need something to boost your ego, because you're obviously hurt. And the only thing that brings you anything of any kind of happiness is something that boosts your intellectual ego, where you're like, yeah, I'm right because I corrected them and said a republic is a type of democracy. Correction, because I'm super smart and I corrected you there. All right, now I got my intellectual narcissistic supply. I feel pretty good now. But when I came in was saying, that doesn't matter. Why are you wasting your time? Trying to get him to look deeper at himself, to realize there's something deeper seated there, because he's an atheist. And that's why he's in that state. He doesn't have God, so of course he's not going to have joy over time, because he rejects the source of joy. So he has to attempt to win a silly, pointless argument online to feel good. That's why he's willing to put so much into it, because it means so much to him. It's like the rich man and Lazarus, where the rich man was begging for just a drop of water. Even a drop of water would not have sufficed, but he was just wanting a drop of water. Just a drop, just give me a little bit. It's like a druggie, where they need a certain amount to get high because they've built a tolerance. But it's like, just a little bit, just give me a little bit. Even though it won't really give them anything, they still want that because they're addicted, they need it, right? And that's how he was coming across, just, I'm right, and you need to just bow down and accept that. And he's like, I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm trying to get to something deeper here about a republic protects the individual, which you seem to want to ignore that, and that there seems to be something deeper with you where you need this validation over something so small. Like, why do you need to be acknowledged that you're right about a democracy being a type of, a republic being a type of democracy? Like, who cares? No one cares but you. Right? It's like, it's meaningless. It's pointless. Whether you're right or wrong, in this case, he's right. Not arguing that he's not. Who cares? How does this affect your day? How does it affect your life or anybody else's life? Like, seriously. It's interesting because his first comment about it was something about, I have to do this like every day or something. Telling somebody about how a republic is a type of democracy. So it's like you spend more time than what you did with me pushing this. And it's just like, wow. And even after I said, hey, you're right, but it doesn't matter. Because that's not what people are trying to say. They're trying to say, when they say a republic's not a democracy, they're saying that it's not a pure democracy. The individual is protected from the votes of the majority. Didn't care, right? And I was realizing it's because he doesn't care about the individual. From this conversation and others we've had and seen his post, he is like MAGA, where they are just going to gung-ho support Donald Trump because they vicariously live through him. And they love how he irritates the left, because they want to impose themselves on others. So when they see that their representative is irritating others and dominating, it gives them that narcissistic supply as if they're the ones irritating their enemy and dominating them, because they are vicariously living through Donald Trump, right? And he wants to be able to do the same thing, right? To vote to have his representative be in charge. So then it's like he is in charge, and then whatever they do, they can do no wrong because it's him and he can do no wrong, and then impose on others, right? Because they don't truly care about the individual. Such as when the conversation ended, he said something along the lines of me just wanting to be right and to have the last comment. And I was just like, okay, whatever. So I said, all right, well then be a hypocrite and get the last comment. Because I was like, yeah, okay, if you don't want me to have the last comment, leave the last one. This will be my last one. You leave one, and I won't say anything else. But surprisingly, he didn't say anything. I was actually shocked at the self-control he had. Probably because he realized the dilemma he would have, right? Because if he responded, he's a hypocrite. And he doesn't want to be a hypocrite, right? So he had to be the bigger man and walk away, and I was actually surprised. But then my cousin jumped in and was saying that my brother was right and I am wrong, even though I never said that he was wrong, right? Which is weird. It's as if they don't care what you have to say. But she said something weird. She said, what gives you the right to say that his argument is meaningless? As if I don't have the right to say what I want to say and have my own beliefs, to be able to say other people's points and beliefs are meaningless. As if I can't say that. Which shows what I was saying is that they don't care about the individual rights. The whole point is not saying that the republic is a type of democracy. They want to get away from it being a republic. They want to completely have it around a democracy, because then they can vicariously live through their representative who imposes their beliefs on others, because they don't care about the beliefs of others. Apparently, I should not have the right to say that someone else's argument is meaningless, even if it is or isn't. All right? What do you think is worse? Someone saying that your belief is meaningless, or the point you're making is meaningless, or someone saying that you don't have the right to say that to anyone? What do you think is worse? I think it says a lot about you on what you choose. If you say that what is worse is saying that someone else's belief and point is meaningless, you don't care about freedom, right? And that means you can't disagree with anybody. Even if you don't really agree with them, you got to shut up about it. You don't believe in free speech. You're not American. At least you don't believe in American values, right? Now, if you say what is worse is not having the freedom to say that, well, then there you go. You're on the right path there. That's worse. But you see, there's something going on with these people that is a heart issue, right? It's not something you can reason with them about, because clearly they don't care about reason. They don't care about what's right or wrong or anything like objective truth. They put themselves in a position where they're their own God because they reject God in one way, shape, or form, even if they claim to believe in God, even if they claim to be Christian. And they're hurt by something or someone. And they're very bitter about it and unforgiving about it. And because of this, they don't have joy. They're like a black hole that just tries to suck up all joy and destroy it. That's why I was trying to talk to them about it. It's like, there's people who are just going about their lives, and you have to go and correct these minute details in the things they say, ignoring the point that they're trying to make, even though they might be off. You may be correct, but who cares? Why do you have to spend your time doing that unless there's some deep-seated issue within you? Like, what's the point of doing that? It doesn't change the point of what they're trying to make. It just shows that you care more about your intellectual ego than you do about actually reaching others and having respectful, civilized conversations. Because, again, it comes down to this narcissism where they need the narcissistic supply to feel like they are something. And when you cut them off from that supply, they act very irrational and even try to gang up because they need it. Even that little drop of water, they'll fight tooth and nail for it, especially if they haven't got their supply in a while, right? Because they're druggies for it. They can't go a day without getting any bit of it, even a drop. So they will waste their time in some kind of silly, stupid argument that has no effect on anybody other than their own personal intellectual ego. But they'll spend their time, like endless hours, arguing about something that doesn't matter. Because they're already in hell. They're already in hell. They can't see it. And they don't care. And they just sit in that misery and blame everyone and everything else. And they only get their joy by vicariously living through some other narcissist imposing their beliefs on others so they can get their supply out of all the people upset about it. Like right now it's MAGA getting all their supply off all the lefties upset about Trump. Every time they get upset about the things that he says and does, even though at times they may be right and justified in what they're saying, they're sucking up the supply. They love it. Right? Just like the left was enjoying all the MAGA supporters getting upset when Biden was in office. It's just a bunch of narcissists fighting with one another, warring against one another. Right? And again, talking to them like this and reasoning with them, showing them the clear truth doesn't matter. They'll fight tooth and nail about this video, how wrong I am. Right? Try to defend how it matters. Right? How they really have joy. Right? They'll argue with me about how they have joy. And if they think they do, then they don't know what joy is. Joy is actually being able to walk away. To have no need to try to prove to anybody anything. To let others go about their lives and believe what they want to believe. Because you have joy. You don't need anybody else to be part of it to still have your joy. Right? Your actions speak louder than your words. Like somebody who's really hooked on a drug, saying they could quit at any time, but they can never not have their drug of choice, or else they're super irritable and they're jonesing for it, and all they can do is think about getting it, whether it's their coffee, their smoke, their booze, right? Those are the most common ones, right? Or pot. A lot of people are into that as well, right? If they don't get their fix, or maybe their pornography, that's another big one. They say they could leave it any time, but then they can't go a day without it, right? It's like, well, your actions speak louder than your words. Let's say you even go a day without it. And if you make it through that day, I bet you're going to be miserable, and no one's going to want to be around you, right? Because you're addicted. You need it. You don't have joy. Because joy, you're able to enjoy joy things without it taking over your life and addicting you, right? Somebody with joy can do something like play a video game, for example, that a lot of people play to escape reality, right? And they get addicted to the games. Somebody with joy can play the game and walk away from it because they don't play the game to get their joy. It's just something that adds to their joy. So at any time they could just walk away from it and they're still fine. They're content. But somebody who lacks the joy, they need to really get into the game and all the time, or different games, because they need that escape from reality, just like any other druggie, because they don't have the joy within them. And ultimately that joy comes from Jesus Christ. And good luck getting any of those people to accept that, right? Because a lot of these people, they're sitting online fighting against Jesus Christ in many different ways, especially since Jesus says that he is the truth, and they'll fight against the truth, right? Like about what I was saying in the conversation. They fight against the truth, and then they misbrand you, acting like you're calling them wrong when you never said they were wrong, right? They start falsely accusing you, just like they did with Jesus. So they're constantly fighting against Jesus in their life, whether they realize it or not. And all the different ways they go about their life, they're fighting against him. But anyway, I made my point here about how these people vicariously live through others. And that's basically what we see with the government. A bunch of narcissists vicariously living through their champion to impose their will on others so they can get their narcissistic supply. And then everybody else is just watching these narcissists fight over their drug supply because they can't get it themselves. They can't get enough supply themselves. So they have to vicariously live through someone who affects everybody, such as the president. And then they can start really getting their supply. Right? It's like energy vampires. I suggest you don't give them all too much time or attention. Only as much as you can bear. Like I do this at times, mainly with family, but very rarely with strangers. But, yeah. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.